So now let's go ahead with our first tech showcase with Culturora. Jody Madella is the co-founder and CEO of Culturora. It's a CMU-based Pittsburgh startup, and it's helping companies strengthen culture using employee connections. I'm really excited to hear about this, but I have to give you some of this, her background, because it's so interesting. You know, she was at UPMC Enterprises doing product management there and looking at healthcare technology. But she also has 18 years on the sell side of healthcare as a healthcare analyst at Jefferies, Citibank, and a ratings agency analyst at Fitch. So on the business side also, now what I love, of course, she has an MBA from Tepera. It's one of the few business schools. I think all the rest of them are gone. She has a master's in public administration, but what I love is a BA in biophysics at Johns Hopkins, which is a great university also. So let me throw this over to you. Take 10 minutes and tell us what you're doing.
Thanks so much, Lou. I appreciate it. I appreciate the chance to share a little bit about our startup, Culturora, and I will go ahead and just share my screen. So what I want to tell you about is Culturora. We are a startup that came out of Carnegie Mellon this past year. We're an early stage company. We're an enterprise SaaS solution. And our fundamental objective is to use employee connections to help fight isolation, build a sense of belonging, and create great company culture. Okay, so kind of what we all know, right, is that the pandemic has completely changed the way we work. And almost all business leaders believe that company culture cannot survive remote and hybrid work. We also know that poor culture is one of the biggest reasons people quit their jobs, and that the cost of voluntary turnover in 2018 was $600 billion, and that's expected to get a lot worse as employees now have more opportunities to switch jobs because of remote work. And we expect this to result in a mass migration of talent. And let's be honest, Zoom happy hours really just don't cut it. And other community and culture building efforts have required a ton of manual oversight on the part of managers and HR. And so what can we do when we know that employee connections are often at the very heart of company culture? Well, that's where we come in. Culturora is laser focused on creating employee connections to drive culture for them by helping build a sense of belonging, a sense of community and trust. And how do we do it? Well, here it is. So first, we create employee profiles and accounts. So we take on all of that work, and we use very simple information that we collect from managers and HR, and employees can update and refine their profiles as they'd like, but they don't have to. And so from there, our algorithm outputs smart connection recommendations and schedules it as well. And so we make these connection recommendations around common interests, maybe different departments that people are working in, maybe the things they're actually working on. And we use basic email and calendars to make these connections happen. The date and the time of the connection can be managed by either person on the pairing, the same way you manage any old meeting invite. And at any time, employees can look at details about their connection. Who am I meeting with? What's their background? What are their interests? And you can, as an employee, change the type of connection. So one of our differentiators is really recommending these connections around different activities. So it can be a video call, or it can be a coffee chat, or lunch, or a walk. So really trying to embrace the hybrid work experience that a lot of employees are being subjected to. But it's really dependent on what both people are comfortable with. And so right now, most of our connections are happening via video, and this access and experience is embedded right into Culturora and available via the calendar invite. So when this video call is done, the employee hits the leave button, a quick pulse survey pops up, and the main things we measure are around how one employee feels about the connection in general. So how do I feel about the other employee? Is it a 0? Like I didn't know him or her at all before this call or encounter? And what is it afterwards? The highest we can go is a 5, like I know them very well. And so we also ask about whether the connection was valuable and why. And so a little bit about our customers and who we're really interested in targeting, for lack of a better word. But our ideal customer really prioritizes that healthy workplace culture. They're generally larger companies with distributed teams and workforce. They've been working hybrid or remote. And for these companies, they also understand that a main component of talent retention is the company's culture. So our connections are really focused on driving value for employees as well as for HR leaders and managers. On the employee side, these new and deeper connections lead to higher engagement, a stronger sense of belonging, and a happier and healthier work experience. For HR leaders and managers, the new channels from employee connection help spread cultural norms, identify engaged talent for development, and also reduce a lot of the administrative burden of managing connection and community building efforts manually. So we know our product is working and adding value. We have a handful of pilots underway with Home Depot down in Atlanta, as well as with Gibson Capital here in Pittsburgh, and about to start one with CMU's Venture Bridge cohort, also here in Pittsburgh. And our quantitative results are pretty strong, but what we find most impactful is how our customers and employees actually feel in their own words. And so we especially value the second and third connections that are happening off those first connections that we're recommending. So I put some of those quotes up there, and hopefully you have enough time to just skim them. But this is what we really value, that qualitative feedback that we get. This is actually my most favorite slide because I just love our team. We're very passionate about the future of work, and we together have a lot of strength in tech, finance, org behavior, and HR management. We also have a very strong connection to Carnegie Mellon University. As Lou mentioned, I got my master's, my MBA from Tepper. Adam on our team got his master's in human computer interaction from the School of Computer Science. We're also a Schwartz Center startup. We have a garage right there in the Tepper building. And we recently participated in CMU's Summer 2021 Venture Bridge program, where we also got an investment from Carnegie Mellon. We really enjoy working together. We've all done so for several years at UPMC, where we all designed, built, and scaled software for the system. I do want to also mention we have an awesome advisor that we work with very regularly. Her name is Gabby Isturitz. She's a two-time serial entrepreneur, and she most recently became a general partner for the Fund XX, which just recently launched. And so we talk to her often, and her expertise has really been instrumental in getting us to where we are today. And so where's that? Well, we're really trying to move fast, just given the market demand and how the future of work is really upon us. We spent a ton of time, months really, just talking to customers and employees, doing nothing else but just talking to people. And we also incorporated our business this past summer. And at the end of this month, we are going to begin raising our pre-seed round, which is currently at around $750,000. That money will go to support product development and continuing to build and refine our product market fit, just to continue that journey. And in addition to our ongoing pilots, which I mentioned earlier, we're planning 2 additional ones with Wiggle Whiskey and UPMC Wolf Center, again, Pittsburgh companies, for a January 2022 start. And we have ongoing conversations with several other companies in different types of industries like Citi, Bristol Myers, Northrop Grumman. We even recently were talking to WeWork, but we know and we understand that all of them are going to need a more sophisticated product than what we currently have right now. And we are very focused on building that. So for today, again, I want to thank everyone so much for taking the time, but what we're really hoping to do is connect with some companies and leaders, people in the audience who are passionate about company culture and the future of work. We have some very specific questions we'd love to get insight on. What's been happening with your workforce? How are you valuing employee experience and engagement? And if you're looking to tech to help solve these problems. So we would love to also see if perhaps Culturora can help you as well. So that's it. Thank you so much for your time. If anyone wants to reach out to us, please feel free to email me. It's jody@culturora.com. I do want to really thank Sean. I know he's not on today, for this opportunity to present. It's just continuing the awesome support that we receive from Carnegie Mellon. Dave Mawhinney, we love you as well. Always so supportive of us. And thank you very much for the time. That's it.
We have a couple minutes. I didn't see any questions come in, but I just have to tell you, I think this has so much purpose in what you're doing. What have you seen, like with your customers, when they talk about isolation and loneliness? How big of an issue is that? Because HR has so much to do.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's very apparent in the surveys that they do. So one example is, I mentioned we're going to do a pilot with UPMC Wolf Center, but even in their My Voice survey, which is a very important survey for them, communication and connection with others was one of the biggest elements of having like kind of gone down from like prior years. So how can we solve for that? And they're measuring it on their own and looking for ways to, kind of impact that back to the positive. So that's been one way. And the other is just what they hear from their managers, and that general sense of, Lou, if you're feeling isolated and kind of just alone, chances are most of the people that you work with are feeling the same way.
Yeah, interesting. What other tools do they have for trying to connect employees, sort of competitive intelligence? What are you competing against?
Yeah, I would say like this company called Donut is one of our biggest competitors and often comes up. It's a Slack plugin that does kind of connections, but it's very Slack oriented. I'd say 100% of the companies we work with don't even know what Slack is or want to touch it. So that helps us a little bit, but it still forces us. And I asked this question to the Oracle presenter earlier, just differentiators. We're constantly thinking about that competitive moat. How do we differentiate? How do we build differentiation into our product? And it's constantly evolving, but it was nice to know that you have to think about it as a small little startup, which is what we are right now, but you have to think about it even if you're giant Oracle, because there's competitors at that level as well. So we're trying to figure it out. We actually ask our employee or our customers like those kinds of questions when they evaluated Donut or us or any other solution out there. Why did they pick us? What was the reason? And a lot of it is actually the experience itself, like how it feels and looks, the way we integrate right into email and calendar. So it's very much, there's no app to download. There's nothing to do to actually onboard and implement. It just starts. So I think that very quick experience, and then employees they just like it. And I think that goes a long way, but it's a tough space. It's a tough market. So we really appreciate any willingness of audience members to connect and talk with us and share insights with us, because we are constantly learning, always learning, always humble and always learning.
Great. I have so many questions for you, but thank you so much. And I'm glad we had some extra time to drill a little bit deeper.
I appreciate that.
I love your timeline in the FinTech when Laura was talking about speed. I noticed February 21 was a startup. You're already going for seed of 750. Congratulations.
Move fast. Thank you so much, Lou. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.